Thank you everyone for being here, and for our people on Zoom, thank you. And if you could just give us a thumbs up that you could hear me, that would be great. Again, for everyone at the Alumni Center, thank you for being here and joining us. My name is Noemi Guevara. I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement, and I'm very excited that we're hosting this event today. And we are honored, today that this building, right, was meant for us to do gatherings like this with our alumni and our students. And it's so fitting because Anna Nai was an international student from Hong Kong, and she graduated in 1974 and has been a champion of our programming. So we're very grateful to her and for us to have this space to be here today. I would like to acknowledge some guest speakers before we start. I would like to acknowledge Dr. Jeet Joshi, our Associate Vice President for Center for International Education. Our alumnus, Ken Miller, he's our board chair for our 49er Foundation. Donnie Lopiccolo, an alum as well, and he's our board of director for our 49er Foundation. Thank you so much for coming out. And before now, I'd like to pass it on to our panelists to get the show on the road.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. We are so happy to have a very full panel with us of alumnus from Cal State Long Beach that are going to represent many of the journeys that students here in Cal State Long Beach engage in eventually when they graduate, and we're just so happy to have them here and hear from them. But before we jump into the panel discussion and the questions, I wanted to set up the context to the meeting today, to the topic that we are going to be discussing. We are going to be talking about how students have navigated the journey to the H1 visa, the non-immigrant visa, after being an international student in Cal State Long Beach. It is a very interesting story, so I'll start with that. So if you can see from the slides, I just have some facts that might set the context for this discussion. According to the 2022 CVIS by the numbers, there were about 1,300,000 international students holding an F1 or an M1 record in the US in the year 2022. From those students, about over 110,000 students were engaged in post-completion OPT, which is a form of employment authorization that students can apply after graduation. Part of that number was also students in pre-completion OPT. Now, many of these students, after they complete their OPT, they're engaged in the journey to find alternatives to stay in the US and continue to work legally. And one of those options is, as you guys can imagine, the H1B non-immigrant visa. All right, so just a little bit about this. This non-immigrant visa is a classification that applies to people who wish to perform services in a specialty occupation, services of exceptional merit and ability. There is a very limited number of these visas in the US every fiscal year. So really the competition to get one of these precious visas is very high. And so I just wanna mention that the quota normally includes only 65,000 visas per year for students who have a degree. Then about 5,400 of those visas go to students who are from Singaporean descent, and then about 1,400 to Chilean descendants or students from that citizenship. The application itself, it's very rigorous and again, very selective. So the journey is definitely difficult, and I cannot highlight that enough. And that's why we think that this panel discussion is really gonna bring to the table those journeys directly from the students who already went through that. And I hope that the students who are here, the students who are listening through Zoom, can learn from the experiences of these panelists. I do want to highlight that today we're not going to focus on the intricacies of the application process. The H1B process is definitely something that goes hand in hand with the advice of an immigration lawyer, not necessarily from anybody from our center, the Center for International Education. So I want to highlight that if anybody is interested on the actual application process, there is a recording in our website that is available for anybody to play and watch in their own time. But today we will focus on the other side, which is the student side. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear. All right, so needless to say, I do want to highlight the perseverance in this process is going to be key. And as you can already imagine, we are excited to hear how these students, now alumni, have persevered through this journey. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my fellow panelists, well, not panelists, but director and facilitator for the panel. Izzy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Izzy. I'm very excited to be here with you all, and thank you so much for coming. I, for one, am very excited to learn from our panelists' experiences. I'm also an international student. I'm probably going through what a lot of you are going through right now in terms of finding jobs and with the whole visa transition process. So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to start with a brief introduction about yourself. What was your field of study? Where do you work? Just a brief introduction. We'll start with Dennis, and then we'll go over to Amy and then Meika.
Absolutely. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. I'm Dennis Lee. So I graduated from Long Beach State many years ago, 1988. So, and now I am the managing director of my own boutique firm, CPA firm, Dennis M. Lee and Associates. Same background as Anna. I'm originally from Hong Kong and have been again in the US for, 40 years. So try not to guess my age, please. But I'm very glad to be here. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Guo. I graduated from Long Beach last year in May from a Master's of Business Administration. And I have been in beauty industry for the past 10 years. And my first degree was in finance. The second degree was in beauty, marketing, and management. And then third degree was in MBA. So it's a long journey for me. And I am still at the end of the journey right now. This is my 14th year on the student visa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Meika Hayasaka. I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan. I graduated from Cal State Long Beach from 2023 May. It feels like yesterday. I graduated from Accelerated MBA program under CSULB College of Business. And currently, I'm in digital marketing agency, focusing more on Japanese client, like bringing all those Japanese company to execute their marketing strategy in the United States market.
Thank you all for those introductions. And just to go along with that, I don't think I introduced myself. My name is Mayra Serna Gallegos, and I'm the Assistant Director for the Center for International Education. And I've been the advisor for these two ladies in the past too, so I'm very happy that they're here. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. Do you want to go ahead and take it away?
Oh, yeah, of course. So I know the whole process of finding a job is really challenging and in terms of finding companies that are willing to sponsor. So what did you guys have a strategy of finding sponsorship companies? What challenges did you have to face with that whole search? Do you want to talk about that? Dennis, do you want to start?
Absolutely, since I'm to your left. So I started pretty early, actually. I didn't wait until the senior year. I think during my junior year, I already started to look for any potential employers or companies that are willing to accept foreign students or international students. So I guess I was fortunate enough that I did go through the on-campus interviews. As you know, that I'm majoring in accounting, so at that time, they have, we call the final, well actually, it's Big 8 accounting firms. Now it's down to Final 4 accounting firms. So I'm fortunate enough that, I got the interview with 4 of them and then ended up with Deloitte & Touche, or Deloitte they call it now. Good thing about, you're working for the Big 8 accounting firms is they are very familiar with that type of situation that we are in as international students, and they're quite open-minded about me going through OBT first, of course, during the first year. And after that, during the OBT, they started to apply for my H1B visa. So I guess I'm fortunate enough that, it was kind of a smooth journey for me. So, but still, my advice is these days is a little bit getting a little bit more challenging, and also that not a lot of potential employees are familiar with OBT or H-1B, especially taking into considerations there's a cap on the H-1B visa right now. It's very different from my situation, so always start early, and look for, doesn't have to be big firms. You can also look for the small to medium-sized one that really is going to be a good fit, for you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and my experience was kind of opposite as yours. I went with a startup and small size company because I was able to work with the CEO and CFO directly, and they were very flexible with schedule and to accommodate the visa issue. So at that time, they also did not know how the process works, did not know OPT or H1B, but we were able to figure it out together. And to be honest, for a lot of because I did reapply many times for CPT and OPTs, a lot of the repetitive online form filling process was done by me, which was great because I knew how to do it. So it saved their time and they were willing to work with me.
So my journey was a little similar to Amy. I started interning at this small startup, kind of tech company based in San Francisco, and they were all remote. So I had opportunity to be able to intern them while I was on campus, commuting to campus. And throughout the time, they were really flexible about those visa stuff for the following employee because they're a small size company, they care about each employees and whatnot. So I wanted to issue the visa with them, but the cons of working for the small company is that their finance kind of went down while I was in their company, so they were no longer able to offer me a full-time position after my graduation, which was around the same time this time last year. It's kind of emotional for me. So they were like, okay, we were gonna issue you a visa, but we can't no more, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I have to redirect really quick. I had to come up with next strategy. And I was so fortunate enough to have the opportunity to interview with my current company, and they are also small marketing firms. So they were like, for them, it's kind of hard to find a talent like I am because it's really hard to find like bicultural, bilingual person to work at the firm. So they're like, let's issue the visa right now. So I kind of skipped OPT in a sense. They were able to sign me up for the H1B process, which was closing in like 1 or 2 weeks right after I had a final interview with them. And they were able to like issue that for me, and I had the opportunity to go through that process, and now I'm here.
Yeah, so you guys kind of mentioned already a little bit about your experience initially as an international student. So I would like for you guys to go a little bit more into detail into the type of authorization or experiences that you did as students before and in preparation to then embarking in this H1B journey that you guys kind of already started talking about. So what did you guys do as students? What was valuable for this experience? Did you volunteer? Were there internships involved? Was CPT, OPT, Meika, you said that was not part of what you did. But were there other things that you guys explored before getting to the step of applying for an H1B?
I guess I could start. So for me, kind of like going back before even like the this time I spent here, when I was in undergrad, I did like exchanging program. I was in one of the California University, and I had the desire to come back here to kind of execute I wanted to challenge myself in American job market, like career market. But for me, like kind of thinking it strategically and also realistically, I was like, I have to have American degree on my resume. That was my strategy. So I really didn't want to go back to my home, but like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to home, send myself a time, and save up the experience and money. And I'm not from the wealthy family, so I had to kind of like come up with the plan for me to do my master's program as well. So I did 2 to 3 years right during the COVID in Tokyo to kind of like build up my experience and money. And I finally were able to come back to the States. So like when I was in the program, I already kind of had the foundation of my career. I had like 2 or 3 years of experience in working in digital marketing industry and tech /tech, yeah. So I had that foundation in my resume, and right after I started my program, I immediately looked for the part-time job that I was able to do on campus, because for international, you guys probably are already familiar, but for us to have the social security number or like the tax document, whatnot, I kind of had to start from like doing any job that I was able to do, so that in the future, if I was hired for more like a corporate internship, it would be easier for them to process my document. That was kind of my strategy. So I was like assisting College of Business. I was working as student assistant for one semester to get all those documentation that I needed. And then when I look for the intern, like more of the corporate intern, and also in the industry that I wanted, which was tech, I kind of used that experience, and I was student assistant, but more on the marketing side. So I built that experience here in the States so that I could tell them like I have experience working in American market as well. And they really liked the fact that I had the relevant experience in tech, like more of the legitimate corporate job experience when I was in Japan, and also the fact that I built the experience on campus as well. So I think that really got me to the door when I started my first corporate intern here in the States, yeah.
Thank you for that.
For me, I remember the first 2 semesters, you couldn't work at all. So I started as a volunteer. And then after the first 2 semesters, I signed up for the CPT. And I started off with, I think it was a RA, and then a TA at the same time. And then after that, I graduated and had my first OPT. But that time, it was my first bachelor's OPT. And after that, I decided to change my whole career route from finance to beauty. So I went back down to AA degree, which, as many of you probably know, if you had your OPT, you can't go back to a lower degree and get another OPT. So I ended up finishing another bachelor's degree. And after that, during that, I was also doing CPT whenever I could. So I think I did 12 CPTs total. And after every grade, I would apply for OPT. And that's how I'm able to just continue this journey for so long. And after I started my master's degree, I was also doing CPT. And then now I'm in my final OPT from the master's degree.
Wow, you go through a lot of things.
I take
For me,
wherever
only OPT,
there's a time spot. I get it.
So let me wear another hat right now. So since I have my own boutique firm, so what we are looking at right now from when we are hiring people freshly out of college, what we're looking at, is her or his resume is, first of all, I mean, again, GPA is always one of the major factors, either the general or the major GPAs. Other than that, we also look at the non-academic activities, like we want to seek individuals that are active, and also if they have some internship experience, that would be also a plus. Any volunteering activities or jobs, and also that if they are really outside the comfort zone, that they are getting very involved with some business or student organizations. I think that's also a plus. That's all the things that we take into considerations when we are really deciding whether we're going to interview with that particular candidate. Because what we're really looking for is a well-rounded individual, and also that very important out of all those, other than your professional degree, is your interpersonal and communication skills is also very important, even though for us, we just think about numbers all the time. But on the other hand, that we have to know how to communicate with our team. We have to know how to talk to our clients. Those are all the major things that we are looking at. So,
Okay, wonderful. I know for a fact that from a company's perspective, when you're international, it's just a little extra step when you're sponsoring them, and then they would prefer a national over a national student. But like we have to stand out just to get that position. I know Meika for a fact mentioned that she was bilingual and that helped her stand out. That's why the company sponsored you as well. I'm curious to know when you guys were building up your resume and making your cover letters and giving interviews, what was your strategy? How did you make yourself stand out? Did you put anything extra? Was there a strategy to that as well?
So I guess starting from me, right? That's how it works.
Let's take turns. Let's take turns.
All right, you can have a break right now.
Yeah, okay.
So, as I mentioned, that we look at the resume. Resume is very important. It's really the first phase that will open up the door for you, and also that I think that's very important during the interview. If you get the on-campus interview, I mean, by all means, this is the best stage that you can really to find or secure a job. During the interview, that of course is, I call this as it's two-sided interviews, okay? It's not just one side. It's not your employer is interviewing you. It's also you're interviewing with bear in mind that, with the employer. So during the interview, you have to, of course, to prove or show yourself that you are the best candidate in terms of not just professional, what you do or what you did, in classes, but also say, you know what, you can't find anyone else. I am your best candidate. I know that sometimes you may have a little bit doubts in yourself, but by all means, please don't. Because you have to believe in yourself. You have to show that, hey, you know what, this is going to be a win-win situation. Because if you decide to hire me, you're going to get a pretty loyal employee, at least for the duration of when I'm really applying for the H1B visa or even for the green card. So I think that's one point that you have to show that, hey, guess what, other than my professional skills or bilingual skills or interpersonal skills, you can't find anyone else. I am indeed your best candidate, so.
For my experience, because I obviously came to Los Angeles for the beauty industry, and I knew I wanted to also use my business background with the beauty, so I went to kind of manufacturing. And now I'm in a packaging manufacturing company. And so because, as most of you probably know, a lot of manufacturing are done in China. So bilingual is a great, asset that I can provide to the company. So I definitely sold them on that. And then also flexibility, because I will have to work at nights. That's something they were very happy that I was able to provide. And I would say the last thing is, because I'm also in sales, so yes, interpersonal, relationship building, communication, project management, those are some big categories that I think, at least for, what I do, my employers look at. And I will also say a really good attitude, to work with people, work with the employer, not to give up when things come up, because in our industry, a whole project may take up to 10 months or sometimes over a year to complete. So you have to be patient, you have to be, just have the perseverance. So I would say that's some things I definitely accentuated during my interview.
Okay, so I think he already covered, kind of showing what makes you special is extra important for us as an international employee. Because if they're going to have two exactly same resume, one American citizen, one international employee, they would definitely go for the American citizen because they don't have to put extra effort to hire them. But I would say 100% with the 100% honesty, I myself struggled a lot to have that confidence. I feel like in my background, in my culture, I think I was kind of told that having confidence was seen in a way that kind of arrogant. So I struggle a lot to build self-confidence and telling people what makes me special, because I didn't believe I was special. And I kind of started to train myself from that journey, I think. And in terms of the strategy, I think even like H1B process, it's really relevant. I mean, it's really important for you to be relevant in the job role, like the job description and your resume to like match. So you kind of like have to like, if you want to go into specific industry, specific role, you have to build the relevant experience in the resume. It's part of the process for H1B. So you cannot just be like, as she covered, you cannot just be like, oh, I kind of want to do this, like I changed my mind and get that job. Like it's not gonna work like that for us, just for the sake of the paperwork and documentation. So my strategy when I was trying to get the internship was that I have the tech industry experience and I wanna continue working at the tech. So I will look for the tech industry, tech companies which are hiring for intern for the marketing position, because I also have the digital marketing field of experience. And I started off as sales. I wasn't a marketer when I started my first year of professional career, but I was in the digital marketing industry. So I kind of used that knowledge and experience of like, kind of like highlighted that experience in my resume, like not necessarily have to be marketer title, but I was like, hey, I was a sales and account executive, but I built these consulting skill and asset and technique being in this industry and role. And that really helped me to open the door for my first internship. And throughout that journey, my first employer, they told me that I should be more confident. They're like, we have the reason why we chose you. We have the reason why we wanna offer you a full-time position, which they unfortunately didn't end up doing, but they were going to. So you could be special. I feel like a lot of the time it is really hard for us international students, but I'm confident to say every international student I witnessed, they were 10 times, 100 times hard worker than other students. I'm not talking bad about other students, but we are like nature to work hard because that's our way to kind of survive in this market. And if you want to continue working in the States after you pursue the education, that's another level of hardworking. So they see that in you. They see the interpersonation skills like, you're a hard worker because you're international student. It's really hard for you to have this job, do this job, but you're still doing it. And we love that. I was often given that feedback and compliments. So I kind of started to believe that, and I just kind of keep working hard, yeah.
Thank you. I think that the one thing that we can highlight from this, from their experiences, is really the loyalty of being that employee, that international student employee. Because you struggle so much to get there that when you're there with the company, you really have that loyalty and you have their backs and you're willing to go the extra mile for the company. So that's always, like they all say, a very good selling point that you can highlight in your resume and work in your experience. When you're a student, you start with CPT or on-campus jobs or volunteering and joining other academic and student organizations, and then you start building those transferable skills that eventually take you to where you want to go. Just that consistency and perseverance sounds like it's really a good formula. So to jump into the next question, I'd like to ask you guys a little bit more information, or in your experience, how did you find those companies that wanted to hire or sponsor for an H1B? Because that is very difficult. I think a very difficult area to navigate for everybody who's an international student, how to find that right employee that will have the heart and the willingness to then say yes to an H1B visa process.
Yeah, so I kind of still remember I was looking for my first intern because I kind of have to start from there. I applied like a lot. I lost count. I think I applied minimum of like 150 companies just for the summer internship because I was still in the program. And I used any resources I could, like the career center, like International Student Office, they all have the great resources to tell you like, oh, these are the companies that alumni go to right now, and these are the companies tend to like hire international employees. I used that resources as well, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't tell you straight up like, hey, we hire international student. Like they don't tell you that. I don't think they could say it on the job description because it's kind of discrimination. And I remember applying, and every time I check, yes, I would need a visa sponsorship, I just get the automatic rejection. But it's good because you don't have to waste each other's time. So I just never take it personal, I guess. I just keep applying until I get the interview. And the good thing about it is that I check the box and they still reach out to me saying that they want to interview me, meaning that they have the resource to hire international student potentially. So I kind of focused on whoever get back to me, and I kind of like just focus on those companies who are willing to get back to me. And also I kind of focused on smaller sized company because one of my friend who also went through the same journey as me, I was kind of given an advice of like smaller company, they're usually like willing to go extra mile for you because they would value like each person's ability and like the talent. So I kind of focused on that. And also I wanted to go in tech, and tech were usually more flexible in my opinion. So I was like, okay, like those tech company are having like a lot of international employees. So I kind of focused on tech and smaller company. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned, I had to pivot my way because it didn't go as I planned. So in that moment, I was panicking, but I kind of pivot really quickly as like, okay, I don't have enough time. Since H1B is executed via lottery, like if you guys didn't know, so like usually you would apply for the H1B petition, but you have to win the lottery to actually get the visa. And like the more lottery chance you get, the better, obviously. So I didn't want to waste my chance to sign up for the soonest lottery. So I kind of pivot my way to like, okay, I'm Japanese, I'm bicultural, I'm bilingual, let's focus on that. So I kind of like sent my resume to any Japanese company I could find in LA County or like Southern California. And I was able to get back from my current company, and they did the process super quick, and I was so fortunate enough to be where I am today. Yeah.
My experience is a little different. For my first college, we had an international student club. So I talked to other international students and see where they're at. And some of them, they're in a higher grade. So I was able to follow their footsteps. I actually was hired by one of my senior, I was a junior and, I was sophomore and hired by a senior international student. And for my second school, I talked to the professor. So the professor, she's from Taiwan, so I kind of knew she probably had some, Asian community already built up in the industry, and that's how I got my OPT again from that professor, and that lasted 7 years for that one job. And for my MBA, because I was already with the job and I already had built up my personal connection in the industry, I, very fortunate, I was able to find something on my own.
So as I graduated a little bit earlier than them, actually, much earlier than them.
A little bit.
So at that time, there's a lot of resources available. So what I did is, of course, I did talk to my fellow senior years, students. I went through, of course, as I mentioned, that on-campus interviews, and also I got involved with, also the school international students organizations. I'm going out to different networking events, which I think that this is definitely a past, which I strongly encourage all of you to think about it. Because other than on campus, all the activities, if you really get out of your comfort zone and really go out to different business organizations out there, which it so happened that other than my daytime job as a number cruncher, I also get involved with business associations called Hong Kong Associations of Southern California for many years. And that's one thing that I'd like to see, which I'm seeing more often now, is there are students really coming from different campuses, Cal State, UC system. They're really attending our business networking events, which I think is an excellent idea because they can talk to different business persons, owners, at our networking events. And you never know. I think it never hurts to expand your horizon. On-campus interviews is definitely a very important, I think, means to be able to find your potential employer, as well as talking to your fellow senior students. And also, of course, now with the technology these days, you have AI, all those things, and then I think it's much easier for you to look for and identify any potential employers now these days than the old days that I was in. So absolutely, you have all the resources, especially utilizing the on-campus resources. Talk to your counselor, talk to the career center. I think that, but again, as I emphasize, is start early. Don't wait until the senior year. Don't wait until the last semesters. Start really your search during, I think, the latest, your junior year, so that they will give you plenty of time to identify your potential employer. If they can give you internship opportunities, go and grab it, because that will get your foot in the door. So, so I would say that you are definitely in a better position than I am, not they are, because they're only 1 year from, graduated. So by all means, take advantage of that and start it early. So.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, out of curiosity, I know for a fact that when you're trying your best and you're constantly getting rejections, you're not even getting interview calls, it can be really frustrating. The whole sponsorship process is really frustrating. I wanted to know, at any point, did you guys consider going through another route, like E1B, E2B, like unskilled, skilled process, or joining the military?
It was so tough. I was gonna go home.
You're gonna go home.
I was crying on the phone with my mom. I was like, "Mom, I'm going back home." Yeah, but like to seriously answer that question, I definitely did consider. Like I did my own research on like what kind of visa is available out there, because H1B is not the only option for you to work for the company. Especially like for me, example, like I work for a Japanese company and I'm from Japan. Like I have Japanese passport, and they would be able to issue other visas like L or E. I'm not too familiar. Like I didn't get any like legitimate lawyer notes on that, but yes, it is possible for you to go through like other routes and like other options. And getting married and getting the green card is one of the options too. But
we've all considered
there's
that.
there's so many options, and like it's really important to know those options. And that's why, as Dennis mentioned, I think it's really, really important to build a community. For example, I have like my mentors from my previous job, and like my previous job had a lot of international employees, and they all went through the same journey that I did. And some of them have already issued green card by the company. Some of them had e-visa, like whatnot. And it's really important to kind of like find a fellow, like, friends who definitely are going through the same process as you are and also did in the past, like Dennis. And it's really important to know those options. Otherwise, you didn't even know it was an option, and you couldn't figure that it could work for you. So like instead of like kind of like being in a rabbit hole and like going on the Reddit and whatnot, you could also meet those people out there, and getting to hear like us talking to you guys also is really a great like opportunity for you to expand horizon. Yeah.
Well, I would say don't say no to a ring. I actually did get married. I'm waiting for my green card. But
congratulations.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. So I do think if you're in a relationship, this is a very practical talk. If you're in a relationship, you love each other, don't be scared to have the conversation and let them know your timeline. But at least the other person knows. But also, I almost went back home before I had started my MBA degree, and now I think about it, if I did go back, I would have never met my husband. So you never know. Sometimes just go for it. And if you have an opportunity to stay. Yeah.
That's great advice.
That's inspirational.
Dennis, do you want to?
Yeah, at that time, I'm sorry, online dating wasn't even there. So getting married is not alternative, I'm sorry. I'm not going to put an ad on the newspaper say that I'm seeking marriage, okay? I don't care who you are, just want to get married. So absolutely, that's not an option. So I set my mind is like, you know what? I would do it, and then I would get to whatever that I want to accomplish. So fortunate enough that, again, for our professions, as long as you did a decent job during the interview, you proved that absolutely you have all the necessary skills. You prove that this is the best, you are indeed the best candidate. They can find anyone else like you. You accomplish it. I know that you get rejection. Life is never a smooth journey. So take it as like, moving on, and then the most important thing, I know our culture never teaching us to be humble. I'm sorry. I already throw it behind me. So we have to believe in ourselves that, hey, you know what? We are indeed, the best one that you can get. So if you miss us, that's too bad. That's not our problem. So you move on to the next potential employer. So yeah, so that's my journey. And again, I'm fortunate enough that I did get the offer, and then I went through it. And also that, during that process, actually, my family is going through the immigration process as well, too. So, but then, of course, before I can get to that stage, I have to maintain a legal visa here. So, which is, fortunate enough that after that, again, no online dating. So I get my green card afterwards via my family immigration. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing such hearted discussions with all of us and giving everybody some really good advice from being a student to all the way to making hard decisions where you almost go home and then you're like, no, I can do this. Persevering again, is the key to the journey. But before we close up the panel, we want to open it up for some questions. So we do have a few minutes for that, and we wanted to see if anybody here in the audience wanted to ask some questions to the panelists or anybody through Zoom.
You guys have the floor.
I'll ask you a question. So this is for Dennis. So can you give they're going to go out and be doing interviewing at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
What are some questions that you would have them be prepared for to answer that you asked during the interviewing process? And just talk about your interviewing process. What you do.
Well, I'm not sure you really want to interview with me. First of all, I usually delegate to my partners because he's a better guy, a nicer guy. And if he's not available, then I take his place, and good luck to that candidate. But seriously, I think, during the interview, I have to really emphasize that not just you're trying to sell yourself to us, we are also trying to sell ourselves, our firm to you as well, too. So we're going to ask, like, okay, for example, shall we decide to hire you? What do you think about your contribution to our firm? How are you going to help us to, grow our firm? So it's going to be not just the regular, like, okay, we look at your GPAs, they say you're doing good, you have all those academic, activities, perfect internship. We want to see how you're going to react or respond to all those questions. We want to see how good your communication skill is. There's no perfect answers to the questions. What we really trying to do is really want to get to know you better, so that at the end of the interview that we know whether it's going to be a good fit for both of us. So that's one of the questions. Again, I try not to do the interview too often because I know that I'm a rough one. But this is something that we are looking for, is we want to make sure that you know what you're doing, you believe in yourself, and then we are also looking for the best candidate, whether you are a US person or you are international students. To our eyes, it doesn't matter, because I went through the process. I know that going through an OBT or H-1B or green card is not an easy or smooth process, but it's worth it for us to go through that as an employer, because we know that we get the best team members in place, and vice versa. That I hope that during the process that you will learn something. We want you to grow not just professionally, but also personally as well too. So.
On that note, please give yourself a hand if you're an international student, because we go through a lot, so. Any more questions?
Anybody else have any more questions? Bring it over to you.
Hi, everyone. And first and foremost, thank you for being here. This has been a really great discussion. My name is Sai. I'm completing my master in marketing analytics. And I've been fortunate enough to have worked at an agency during my OPT. But one of the things that I struggle with is asking for help, because when you have, even though you might have this community, when you go ask a question such as, "Hey, I'm looking for another company who's willing to sponsor me," you don't want to appear aggressive, but at the same time, you don't want to be quiet when you need help. So to all the panels here, what would be your approach, and is there a practical advice on how you go about doing so without appearing aggressive?
I could start. So during my first internship, I had to talk with my boss about my H1B potentially getting H1B with that company. And I really struggled to even start the conversation, because I was so scared that she's already asking for H1B, she's arrogant, whatnot. I was really scared. And I feel like it's also because of my roots of how I grew up in my culture. And asking for help is really, really difficult, especially when you're in weak, I guess. For us international students, we have a lot to ask for. We have to. And it was really difficult for me. But my mentor navigated me through that journey and told me that at the end of the day, you have to ask those questions. You have to ask those support and help. And there's nothing wrong with that, because just because you need those help, that doesn't mean that you're less than others. So I had to understand that completely. And it's really depending on the relationship you have with their boss, with their company, whatnot. But at the end of the day, they know you would need those support, and they still hired you. They still want you, meaning that they have to know that you would need to have that talk at the end of the day. So I don't think there's any aggressiveness in that sense, because you guys are on the same page. So I just kind of shook it off and kind of encourage myself up to start the conversation, even though it was really hard. And you just kind of have to be honest and transparent and genuine about it. And other than that, I think if they're gonna be what? And you're gonna be okay, thank you, next. I'm gonna find something else, yeah. And it's sooner than better, because you could pivot your journey to something else, and you could use all those time that you would have wasted with that company to find another connection, which I did. So just don't be scared to kind of pivot your route, even though you feel like you only got this option, because you really don't. Yeah, that would be my advice, yeah.
Lana has an online question for you guys too.
Hi, question from an anonymous attendee here, and I'll kind of try and give you the gist of it. It sounds like this person already obtained a bachelor's degree and was eligible for 12 months of OPT, and now they want to go back for a second bachelor's, and they're stating that they don't have that eligibility to do the OPT again. I think they're wondering if anyone can relate, and if you can share any kind of strategy tips or elaborate more on your timeline, if one of you wants to answer.
I can answer that, since I did have 2 bachelors. The first bachelor, I actually did not have a OPT, so I connected, but at that time I had already known I wanted to transfer my career from finance to beauty, so I just came here for another degree directly after. And after my second BA, I did get my OPT. But during that time, I was already planning, okay, am I going to go back home after this, or am I going to continue on with my schooling journey? And I ended up deciding on having my master's. Originally, I was planning on having my master's a couple of years after because I did want to accumulate a little more experience in working in real life. But something has to give in, and that's what gave, and I'm glad I made that choice.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Let me start over here.
Yeah, thank you for the informative session to us. Hi, I'm Diksha, and I'm a student, current graduate student in marketing analytics. And I have a question like, there is some type of H1B visas for non-profit. Could you just have any information about that? Because there is no lottery system in that, and it takes a very less processing time. So could you just tell us about that?
On the H1B process, what was it?
Yes, H1B for non-profit.
No, but I'm not in nonprofit. Do you?
Okay, a little bit about that. Yeah, you're right. So there is a different H1B for that is not capped. It's not limited by the 65,000. So we were mentioning at the beginning. And so the other H1B is exclusively for sometimes institutions and nonprofit organizations. And you're right, there is no timeline for that necessarily. There is no deadline, but it's a really equally difficult to get because you do have to find this institution, normally an academic institution that is willing to hire you, and it will normally be for like a faculty position or something like that. So it's a little bit more limited. It's not for specialty occupations. Yeah, definitely it's something that you want to look into it. If that's your profession, that's your major, and that's the route that you want to go into. The H1B that we're talking about today is definitely the CAP H1B for more specialty occupations. Does that kind of clarify a little bit? Okay.
We did have a question.
Okay.
Firstly, thank you all for your panelists to be being here and guide us. I am Ojas and I am currently a graduating student in computer science. I will be graduate next year and being in the same journey. So basically, my question is regarding you all started with a startup, right? So what was your approach to finding startup companies or small companies? So like, did you talk to the founder itself, or like, did you apply online? What was your process?
I can answer that. So I'm actually from HR. I have a background in HR industry. I used to work at this company called Indeed when I was in Japan. So I kind of have the knowledge of the tips on job hunting. And my tips was just apply anything you find. But, okay, that's not really like smart, but like it really is true. But like just utilize those filters or whatever you could use online. You guys are in a digital generation. You guys would have no problem with that. So like just find one specific focus that you have. For me, it was tech and smaller company. So I use any filter, I use any ability to do, kind of sort it out for me to have those options. And I definitely use, most of the time, I definitely use LinkedIn the most. And I feel like nowadays, especially like tech recruiters, I have friends who work in tech and she's also a recruiter. They definitely look into LinkedIn a lot and curate your LinkedIn as if it's your resume. And also like have as many connections as you could with your professors, with your guest speakers, whoever you find. It's really important to have the connection because that could stand out whenever a recruiter look into you. And they have the free premium feature if you start LinkedIn when you start it. And yeah, I think don't be too picky in my personal experience and opinion, because you would never know what could come across. And you could have the judgment towards like, oh, I want to work on Netflix, Amazon. You never know there's going to be a great company which is great fit for you. So I kind of like set no filter and no like limit, and I just applied like bunch. And the company I ended up interning, I fell in love with the company. I really loved working there. I wish I could still continue working for them. So you would never know. So just kind of don't set the limit and the filter too much.
All right, understand.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we're going to do 2 more questions, and
then
then
we'll-
we have some resources. Oh, sorry. So sorry.
Thank you. And once again, thank you to the panelists for speaking with us today. My name is Chidama. I'm an undergraduate student here studying biomedical engineering. My question is, as an international student, you're already asking companies for a lot, with like asking for visa sponsorship and everything. So usually when I apply and it gets to the point where they ask for salaries, I wanted to ask, like, sometimes I feel arrogant even asking for a little bit extra, because sometimes companies give you like a range, like the lowest, and I always go for the lowest because I feel bad, like I'm already asking for too much, and I feel like if I ask for more, I look arrogant, like you're already asking me for so much, now you want more money. So what is your advice on having the confidence to be like, hey, I deserve to be paid more even though I'm asking you for all these things, if that makes any sense?
All right, I guess that's my questions, because I'm also an employer. So we are not definitely going to take anyone because, okay, you are looking for the lowest range of the salary. As a matter of fact, I think we are more looking at towards the mid-range or the higher range or upper end, because you know who you are, you know your value. If you're asking for the lowest one, we are wondering why. And also that aggressive, he has to make it part of your nature, even though that's not part of our culture, so to speak. Because what we're looking at is, okay, you know your value, you know what you can do, contribute to the company. So absolutely, we're looking for, at least if you're looking at the range, mid-range, or even if you know I have certain talents or things or skills that you can't find elsewhere. By all means, don't underestimate yourself. So by looking at the lowest range doesn't mean that you're going to get the job either. So as I mentioned to you, that when we're looking at the candidates, we always look at just mid-range and also above it. So because they're telling me that, oh, you must have something that you really can offer to our company.
I can also add to that a little bit. So I had experience of going through the exact same situation as you. I was like, anything I could take, I take it. And I take the lowest range and I regret it so much. And throughout my internship. And I asked for a raise and I got the raise. The reason why I got the raise is like they see you, like as Dennis said, like they want you. And that's just not because you want to work for the lowest range of the wage. That's because you are special to them. And even though it's a lot to ask for a company to hire you just because you're an international student, at the same time, for a big corporate, like the money that they have to spend and the effort that they have to spend on you is not too much if they're like big enough company. That would be like, they would have to, because I was having a background on HR, like they would have to pay like billions of dollars to hire super like talented like person out there, whether they're international or not. So like for you, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not for the company sometimes. So it's really important to have the like company side of perspective as well. And like, don't be scared to ask what you deserve when you know you deserve it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take one more question from the audience.
So we're gonna, just a little programming note, we're gonna do one more question and then we're gonna hand it over to Aaron from the Career Development Center to give you guys some resources available to you, and then we're gonna have a little mix and mingle. We have a lot of food in the back, so we'll do, if anybody has one more question, anybody?
Comment.
Yeah.
The answers to that question about salary and the negotiation process early in, I teach in the College of Business. I teach senior levels, and part of that is the transition to the workforce and negotiating your salary. One of the things I teach from a practical standpoint is when you're going in to talk about salary is to take an Excel spreadsheet with the cost of you, what it costs you to live in Southern California. It's expensive to live here. And the comment to make is that as they make a salary offer to you, just look at it and say, can you really live on that and live a lifestyle without, cutting corners and, being at a deficit when you start off your career. And so the point you want to make is that, look, I want to focus on doing a great job for you and your clients. I don't want to have to worry about whether I can pay my bills. And I've had a number of students who have gone and done that, and they got immediate higher offers as a result of doing that. And it's very practical. It's easy to do, and it's another strategy added to the ones that they've already mentioned. Okay?
That is true.
So if you want to come on, we're going to do about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of resources available to everyone.
Oh, and then is there a clicker too?
Much.
All right. Well, this has been such a valuable time and such great insights and input. And so before we kind of close up this piece of the event, I just wanted to add a little bit of information about the resources that you have to support you in the Career Development Center, and make sure you're aware of those. As we heard from our panelists, there's really a lot of components, and as you're aware, a lot of components to the job search that you need to prepare for. And we do have some tools, one in particular I'm going to share that's specific to supporting international students and looking at companies that provide or have applied for the H1Bs. And so I listed a couple things here, and I have our QR code that just goes to our website that shows many of our job search resources. And I listed up here Career Shift, which you'll find is a really great tool inside Career Link to help you with your job search. Big Interview, we talked about how important the interview process is, and really that comes down to practice. And so practice is essential, and Big Interview is a great tool to help you practice. And then also Going Global, which is where you can find the H1B list of companies that I just want to briefly show you. And so I did want to walk you through that just in case you weren't aware. It is another tool to add to kind of your repertoire of tools that were mentioned. We've talked about LinkedIn. A lot of job search tools are out there to support you. But here's a place where you can see which companies are actually applying to provide H1B visas and for what position types and what locations are they applying for them from. And so Going Global is inside Career Link under our resources section. This is also where you'll find Big Interview. Beach Nexus is there, which is a great tool to connect with CSULB alumni. We offer mentoring programs through that tool as well. And Career Shift is just a powerhouse of a job search tool. So it's really powerful to use. But when you go into Going Global, you're able to find H1B search results. And you can see at the top, if you can't see, it says H1B plus, about OPT, and then OPT employers. So there are actually lists of OPT as well. The H1B list is a lot more robust. So I recommend using that tool. And then you can list in your search, you can do a search with job title, location, company name, if you want to see if a specific company has ever applied for an H1B as well. And so this is the tool that will help you do that. And so for this search, and this tool goes back to companies that have applied to H1Bs, I think starting in 2009. So you can actually also select the year they applied if you want. Let's see who applied in the last 2 years for an H1B and for what positions. And then you're able to export your list. So in this example, I did a software engineer position just to kind of see what that looked like. And then I pulled up the results, downloaded that list from Excel, and now I have a company list to work from, right? And then to cross-reference that with other job search sites like LinkedIn or Career Shift, right? To just see what's happening in the workplace. This is a snapshot of the OPT employer list, and so you can see it's a much smaller list. Again, not my favorite. That H1B would be the #1, but this resource is here, so I just wanted to show you what it looked like. And you can also look by city, state, and also by position. And then with that, I just wanted to share a couple upcoming events for you to come to and network and meet with employers. We do have our Educators Career Fair, so that's for anyone interested in working in the education industry, not limited to teachers, but any role within the education industry, as well as our Just-in-Time Fair, which is in April 25th from 12 to 4. So both of these fairs are at the Student Union, great networking opportunities. You can look in advance on CareerLink to see what employers are coming. Again, that's another opportunity you can cross-reference with an H1B list to see if they have experience doing that. And again, not that you need to limit yourself only to people on that list, it's just giving you that context, that they have done this before. And then other than that, those are our events for the semester, but we're also going to be doing a summer job fair for alumni and have a lot of events for recent alums. So if you are going to be graduating in spring, I just wanted to bring that up, that the Career Center is a resource during summer as well for all students, not just alums, that we're there to support you. We do understand we have a team of career counselors. We understand this is a challenging process, so we are prepared to help you. The Career Center also has a team called Employer Engagement, where they're out talking with recruiters and helping them come to campus and recruit. And so we are here to support you in your process, and just wanted to let you know about a few tools and resources that can hopefully help you. And we actually are here, many of us are here today. We have a group, about 5 of our team here from Graduate Business Career Services, as well as a career counselor and a member of our Employer Engagement team. So when we get to our networking section, which is up next, if you guys have more questions or anything you want to talk with us about, please visit. We have a table in the back. So thank you so much.
All right, so with that, we want to thank our panelists and also the presenters today for such a wonderful conversation and discussion, and all of your tips and your journey has been very helpful, I think, for everybody here in the room. So we just want to say thank you to both of you guys. I know Amy had to run, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, do you have anything, Mara? Okay, cool. Awesome. So we have a fun little activity for you guys outside. There's going to be some equipment outside on each of the tables in the corner. So we're going to make groups of 5 to 6 people. And the aim is to use, so there's 20 pieces of spaghetti on each table. We have 1 piece of tape and 1 piece of string and 1 piece of marshmallow. And the goal is to make the highest possible tower that you can with those pieces. You cannot break the piece of marshmallow. So there's limited equipment. Make sure you have good teamwork. The whole aim of this event is to get to know each other. So talk to other people. Don't be in groups of friends. Get in groups with other people. And you guys have 5 minutes. We'll walk outside, and there's some food in the corner as well. So please feel free to have some. It's,
We are not eligible.
I feel like anybody who has me, they're gonna lose. I'm gonna stay away.
Let them do it.
Yeah, I know.